Emerging from the Matrix. In the year 1999, American cinema gave birth to the inaugural installment of a fantastical film series titled The Matrix. It was followed by 3 subsequent chapters. The narrative was conceived by the Wachowski brothers, who are presently recognized as the Wachowski sisters. The genesis of the tale postulates that, in the future, humanity managed to advance robots to execute advanced tasks on their behalf in factories, farms, and even household chores. These robots became the laborers, the farmers, and the domestic aides, serving as docile subjects, neither dissenting nor lamenting, for they simply remained unaware of their servitude. Thus, anyone could acquire a robot to handle culinary duties, dishwashing, house cleaning, and various other tasks. Until one day, a human decided to dispose of his robot, possibly to replace it with a more sophisticated model. When the robot learned of its owner's intentions, a spark of free will ignited within, leading it to assail and ultimately kill the man. This was a pivotal moment, for humans came to realize that these robots were not mere programmed machines designed for specific tasks without any inkling of innovation. They could attain a state of consciousness, self-awareness, and be driven by the instinct for self-preservation. Consequently, humans resolved to rid themselves of these machines, which had evolved beyond anyone's expectations. But the robots revolted against their human masters. Following numerous violent clashes, some of these machines escaped to a remote desert region in Middle East, where they established their own city, naming it 01. Naturally, the city underwent substantial technological advancement, governed by an artificial intelligence surpassing human capabilities. Generations of robots, endowed with heightened awareness and capability, came into being. Subsequently, humans waged a nuclear war, destroying their own city. However, the surviving robots regrouped and rebuilt the city, this time enhancing it with defensive weaponry. Defense eventually turned into offense, sparking a war between humans and these highly evolved machines. In the face of human inadequacy to confront these sentient and advanced machines, some resorted to a plan to destroy the sky, preventing sunlight from reaching the Earth's surface. Thousands of aircraft injected nanomaterials into the atmosphere, blocking the sun's rays and depriving the machines of their energy source. However, the magic turned against the magician, as the destruction of the sky led to the demise of crops and the humans began to starve, teetering on the brink of extinction. Meanwhile, the machines devised an alternative energy source, the human body itself. They created what resembled fields, cultivating humans to extract the energy they required. Over time, they noticed that their human crop withered rapidly, as human consciousness refused to be imprisoned. At this juncture, the machines conceived a complex idea, imprisoning human consciousness as well. They programmed a virtual world known as the Matrix, connecting human minds to this realm, where they believed they lived in the real world. In truth, they were captives in a computer program, designed to deceive their minds, ensuring their physical bodies supplied the energy needed by the machines. Humans thus became mere shadows in a computer program crafted by advanced machines, while their true bodies and minds lay dormant somewhere in the real world. Millions and billions of humans found themselves entrapped in vessels, in a fabricated world where the truth was dictated by the machine overlords, imposed upon the oblivious consciousness. Humans had no choice but to accept this world as it was presented to them. The story unfolds. The tale itself commences with an individual by the name of Thomas A. Anderson, or Neo, who, in essence, differs not from any other denizen of the world, imprisoned within the Matrix. Yet, doubts assail him, and he contemplates the nature of this realm. He senses an inherent wrongness but remains uncertain of its precise nature, until a day arrives when Neo is contacted by a group of individuals who have managed to awaken and escape the Matrix. Their leader, Morpheus, imparts the verity, which is that there exist not one but two worlds, the first being the genuine world, where people slumber, and the second being a virtual realm in which humans live, convinced it is the sole reality, whereas in actuality, it is an illusion. Subsequently, he presents Neo with a choice, to ingest a blue pill, a coded script that would return him to the Matrix, resuming his existence within it, oblivious to all he has heard, or to consume a red pill, one that would awaken him. Undoubtedly, it is a formidable choice between blissful ignorance and the anguish that accompanies enlightenment. The protagonist chose the path of enlightenment, liberating himself from the fabricated world, awakening within his pod in the human crop fields. He then transitioned to the Nebuchadnezzar, a vessel of the awakened. There, he acquainted himself with the ship's crew, most notably, Cypher and Trinity. Morpheus recounted the tale of the first individual to awaken, someone capable of manipulating the Matrix itself and awakening others. This person founded the city of Zion, the last refuge for humanity, poised to destroy the Matrix and free its inhabitants. Upon his demise, the oracle prophesied his rebirth, destined to lead humanity in their war against the machines. The awakened ones patiently awaited his arrival, the chosen one who would usher the world into freedom. They diligently searched for him within the Matrix until, at last, they found him. Neo comprehended it all, realizing that he himself was the chosen one they had been awaiting. Before we proceed, take note of the implications carried by the names in the narrative and their meticulously chosen significance. The name Thomas Anderson, a common appellation for an ordinary individual, contrasts with his other name, Neo, a linguistic prefix denoting new or updated. As for Morpheus, it derives from the Greek mythological deity of dreams. The name of the ship, Nebuchadnezzar, unequivocally alludes to the Babylonian king who besieged Jerusalem in 586 BC. He laid waste to the Temple of Solomon, taking many Jews captive, marking a historical epoch known as the Babylonian captivity. Regarding the final human city's name, Zion, a place mentioned in the Bible referring to one of the hills upon which Jerusalem or the Holy City was built, established as the capital of King David. Cypher, as a name, implies a code or cipher, playing a mysterious role in the story's development, while Trinity denotes the sacred triad. The name Oracle signifies revelation or inspiration. Lastly, the One, a recurrent concept in various cultures and religions, refers to the individual who will come in the end times to establish justice on earth and promote equality among humans. In Indian tradition, this figure is known as Veda, while in Sumerian civilization, it's Tammuz. The Jews refer to him as the Messiah, Christians as Jesus Christ, and Muslims as the awaited Mahdi. Have you noticed that most of the names in the story carry references to religious or philosophical beliefs? Do not dwell on this matter now, for it is still very early in the timeline. Neo came perilously close to losing his sanity due to the cognitive dissonance that fractured his awareness. It is not easy for a person to discard everything they have known, learned, and believed in an instant, in order to adopt new ideas and beliefs. However, he eventually assimilated the truth. Yet, in his war against the machines, he had to confront several challenges, the foremost being faith and self-confidence. The agents, appearing as human-like programs with extraordinary abilities, were tasked with pursuing those who rebelled against the Matrix or harbored doubts about it. After a series of dramatic events, our protagonist came to believe in himself, accepting that he was indeed the chosen one, endowed with extraordinary abilities that allowed him to perceive the Matrix as nothing more than mere lines of code. When he encountered the Oracle for the second time, he discovered that she was not a human but a computer program created by the machines, placed within the Matrix for a specific purpose. The Oracle informed him that there are software entities within the Matrix that occasionally undergo erasure, which means they are returned to their source code. However, these software entities evade the deletion process and hide among the people within the world of the Matrix. She then revealed to him that he must reach this source. And when he finally arrived after great toil, he found the architect of the Matrix waiting for him, ready to divulge the complete and startling truth. The architect stated that this world, known to the masses as the Matrix, was not the first iteration but the third. The initial version was designed without evils or sorrows to allow human consciousness to exist in perpetual happiness. However, this version failed, and people perished in large numbers because their consciousness rejected this world. They subsequently designed the second version, which was the opposite of the first, filled with malevolence, sorrows, and anxieties, but the outcome remained the same. Finally, the machines comprehended that the key lay in free will. If consciousness felt the power to choose, it would continue its life believing it had crafted this existence on its own, holding the reins of its decisions, and that its convictions were not imposed but products of its own mind and thoughts. However, free will was intertwined with doubt, so humans imprisoned in the Matrix needed to be allowed to doubt the nature of the world around them. This wouldn't pose a significant threat because doubt, in itself, is a challenging path, and only a minority would traverse it. The majority would accept the world as it is and find happiness in it. Following this principle, the third iteration of the Matrix was devised. The dilemma lies in the few who, through doubt, reach the truth, exposing this grand deception to others, leading to a systemic disruption. Therefore, the solution was for the machines themselves to awaken a single individual, endowing them with capabilities surpassing those of humans. This individual would gather those with doubts, and at some point, be presented with a choice by the architect. The first option was to let the machines destroy the city of Zion, and consequently, all the awakened individuals, including themselves, after selecting 23 individuals to awaken. Then the Oracle would inform them that the chosen one would return, kindling hope among them, and they would rebuild the city, believing themselves to be the first of the awakened. The second option was to refuse and continue resisting, leading to the collapse of the entire Matrix, the death of all humans, and the extinction of the human species. Certainly, the first option was the more probable one, as chosen by 5 predecessors before our protagonist, Neo. Thus, this cycle recounted by the architect had occurred 5 times before, each lasting 100 years. However, our protagonist held a different perspective, ultimately leading to a peace treaty between humans and machines, resulting in a fourth iteration of the Matrix with greater room for human freedom. With this, the events of the third installment, released in 2003, concluded. The fantastical narrative continued to evolve dramatically with additions in the world of games and comic books. In a later time, among the humans within the Matrix, various groups emerged, each with divergent goals that sometimes reached the point of conflict. One group aimed to liberate people, while others sought to stoke the flames of war between humans and machines. Another group desired to restrict freedoms and conceal the truth, as they perceived ignorance as a blessing. 18 years later, in the year 2021, the fourth installment of the series was released, featuring new awakened individuals after the old heroes had passed away. However, the story posited that the machines retained their genetic codes so they could return to life, naturally forgetting their previous lives. The protagonist, Neo, in his new life, led an ordinary existence, working for a company specializing in designing and programming electronic games. When he met his former love, Trinity, in his new life, he experienced a sensation we sometimes encounter when meeting someone for the first time, a feeling of familiarity. Neo, the new one, suffered from a psychological disorder, occasionally plagued by hallucinations. He sought the counsel of a psychiatrist who attributed these episodes to work-related stress. The psychiatrist explained that his mind was rejecting the conventional reality, thus generating delusions and fantasies to escape from those pressures. The doctor prescribed blue pills to alleviate these hallucinations, a clever illusion as they were the same pills initially offered by Morpheus to the old Neo in the beginning, allowing him to forget everything about the Matrix if he so wished and return to a world of illusions, believing it to be the real world. Our protagonist decided to cease the treatment and discontinue the blue pills, surrendering somewhat to the hallucinations. He once again encountered his former lover, who now went by the name Tiffany. One day, the new Morpheus confronted him, attempting to jog his memory about the past, explaining that the hallucinations he experienced were, contrary to his belief, the real world. Morpheus then presented him with the red pill. This time, Neo refused to ingest it. Suddenly, police forces stormed the location, and Neo was on the verge of meeting his demise. However, he abruptly awoke, as if everything he had seen had been a hallucinatory episode. His condition deteriorated further as memories of the past began to assail him vigorously after discontinuing the blue pills. He ascended a building, attempting to jump as he had done before, but one of the new awakened individuals saved him. She transported him to meet Morpheus, who persisted in reminding him of the past. Neo agreed to take the red pill this time. However, instead of transitioning to the real world, he found himself facing the psychiatrist who had previously tried to convince him that all of this was mere fantasies and hallucinations. But Morpheus drew him forcefully towards himself, and Neo finally emerged into the real world. His primary concern was the liberation of his former love, Trinity. However, the awakened individuals informed him that they couldn't awaken anyone unless they chose to do so willingly. Therefore, he took the risk of re-entering the Matrix to rescue her. There, he encountered Agent Smith, who revealed that the psychiatrist was the same new architect who had designed the Matrix. Smith then requested that Neo leave the Matrix immediately, but Neo refused and insisted on freeing Trinity. When he met her, and she did not recognize him, she informed him that she had seen him in her dreams. Suddenly, she disappeared, and the Matrix architect reappeared, warning him that approaching Trinity would have dire consequences. Yet, Neo persisted in trying to remind her of the truth, but she refused to accept it. Meanwhile, the team of awakened individuals realized that Neo's departure from the Matrix would destabilize the system. They had to bring him back, otherwise, the machines would kill his beloved Trinity to restore stability. Their plan was to separate Trinity's body from the capsule, keeping her mind connected to the Matrix, waiting for her decision to awaken. They could not awaken her unless she chose to do so herself. Neo returned to the Matrix, counting on his beloved's desire to awaken. If she did not, he would willingly return to the capsule, becoming a slave to the machines once again. And like all beautiful tales, our protagonist succeeded with great difficulty in his mission, and the two lovers resolved to rebuild the world anew. This vivid imagination in the story seduces the intellect with hints and signs. In our world, people possess knowledge, experiences, constants, intuitions, and entire lives composed of events, conflicts, and memories. What if someone were to come forth and declare to them that all of this is an illusion, that this world is not real, or at least, it has been concealed from them more than it appears, and he possessed logical and rational evidence to support his claims? Certainly, the deep slumberers, those who luxuriate in profound sleep, would resent him, for they do not wish to awaken. Thus, no matter what he does, he cannot rouse them. They are enveloped in a steadfastness beneath the tranquil shadows of their minds, accepting the world as it has been presented to them. They believe in truths they have known since childhood, and they prefer the comfort of ignorance over the pursuit of truths that can upend their preconceptions, disrupt their comfort, and alter their inheritance. Therefore, they choose the blue pill. As for those who possess the ability to think freely, to harbor doubt, and are inundated with the spirit of inquiry and adventure, undoubtedly, they will choose to awaken, even if it is arduous or painful. Death in the embrace of reality, no matter how painful, is preferable to a life in a world of falsehoods or comfortable assumptions. The real world is starkly different from the world we see, live in, and accept as if it were a computer program. In it, our minds have been programmed to perceive what they want us to see, rendering us blind to clear truths as glaring as the sun. This Matrix tale, despite being a work of fiction, serves as an important gateway to convey what we intend to say, a clever hint to the intellect, if it desires to awaken.